Corridor Crew did not create a green screen revolution. They create a cool open source experiment that sits on top of the decades of existing work. Calling it a revolution is not just exaggerated, it ignores the actual history of compositing. Watching all this hype around Corridor Crew feels like watching someone reinventing the wheel and everyone is clapping because it's round. Let's learn what exactly unmixing means. When you shoot on a green screen, pixels at the edge of the subject aren't pure. They have both foreground and the green screen, separating those blended pixels back into true foreground color and color transparency. This happens because light spill, motion blur, defocus, and semi-transparent details. In a simpler terms, taking a pixel that is half green and half subject and trying to recover what the subject will be actually look like. In a real production environment, we usually do matte extraction separately, like extracting alpha channel, then do a despill edge works separately. In this corridor group, the both things in a single workflow. Green screen extraction is not a new problem. Nuke has had industry standard keyers like Keylight, Primate, IBK for years. After Effects also includes Keylight and Primate since 2000. Films have used advanced techniques like sodium vapor matting since the 1960s. Even Corridor Crew admits it. This alone destroys the revolution claim. If it were a revolution, it would replace entire existing workflows. It doesn't. So what they built is essentially an AI assisted matting using training data that is actually exists in multiple forms like Runway ML, Adobe Sensei, and new category tools like ModNet, robust video matting, and many other tools. So this is not a breakthrough concept. It is an implementation of existing machine learning approaches. During the launch, they said it was primarily for green screen only and need to retrain for blue screen. A real revolutionary tool would handle all the screen types, work across all the lighting conditions, and requires minimal manual intervention. Corridor key does not meet the bar yet. The most important thing is corridor key requires something called alpha hint. This is a rough mask that tells system what to keep and what to remove. Basically, a garbage mat. That hint can come from a traditional key, another AI assessment tool, or a manual input. The project itself states clearly the better the alpha hint and better the result. This is an important key detail because corridor key doesn't replacing the keying, it builds on top of it. They rely on garbage matting techniques like GVM, Video Mama, or manual key, all of which are separate systems doing segmentation. So the corridor key pipeline becomes something like this: generate a rough mat, feed into a corridor key, and the corridor key system guesses what exactly the foreground color should be. Hope it improves. That is not a simplification, that is adding another layer. Also, let's talk about the hardware. This thing is not lightweight. It requires 24 GB VRAM recommended, GPU heavy, and CPU fallback is painfully slow. Compared to that, Keylight, IBK, and Primate in other softwares, these run fast, interactive, and real-time feedback. And with corridor key, sometimes even small tweaks will feel slow. That alone kills the iteration process. And iteration is everything in compositing. But this is where they do deserve the credit. What has actually happened is they gained a GitHub traction, thousands of stars, community improvements like VRAM optimization, UI, and plugins for other softwares, and rapid integrations. This is not a revolution in keying, that is a good open source moment. Corridor Crew doesn't reinvent the green screen. They packaged the ML matting into a accessible tool, made it open source, got community attention. The part I actually like is it supports EXR, works in linear and output proper passes. That is actually very VFX friendly. There is also to be a clear awareness of difference between demo footage and real production plates. In a controlled demos, results can look clean and convincing, but production work introduce inconsistent lighting, compression artifacts, mixed materials, and imperfect green screens in different areas. And this is where the reliability becomes more important than innovation. AI tools are often introduced as a disruptive breakthroughs, but in practice, they become assistive tools, specialized helpers, workflow additions, not a replacement. Corridor Crew isn't just a green screen revolution, it's a smart wrapper around existing AI math techniques boosted by open source hype, not a replacement for real compositing. It is just a ML based edge refinement and color reconstruction driven by user provided garbage mat with a heavy hardware cost. In my perspective, everything is well and good. This on a very flat green screen. Most industry compositors could extract the demo footage in 5 minutes in a standard composing software. Now let's do it in a production shoot with 4 shades of chroma and some fast motion blur and half of the character over exposed sky. That might be the real problem.